So we have now learned that Pete Buttigieg has been taking campaign advice from Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Now, this is according to a report in Bloomberg, a really good report, that says that earlier this year, Zuckerberg had sent multiple emails to Mike Schmoll, that's Buttigieg's campaign manager, with names of individuals that he might consider hiring. Now, campaign spokesperson Chris Mager confirmed Priscilla Chan, Zuckerberg's wife, also sent multiple emails to Schmoll with staff recommendations. And of course, out of those staff recommendations, two of the people were ultimately hired. So now this is problematic, right? In a couple of different ways. For one, you have Facebook, large corporation, that's basically telling a candidate, hey, you should hire these people. Gee, I wonder if that colors the campaign with a certain perspective. Now, also problematic for the campaign is how Zuckerberg has been very close, very cozy and close with the right wing. So now, Politico had reported last week about a spate of meetings Mark Zuckerberg held with top conservative pundits. So the guest lists of those dinners that they apparently had were Fox News host Tucker Carlson, conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt, commentator Ben Shapiro, Mary Catherine Ham, who's a CNN commentator, American Enterprise Institute fellow and former Washington Free Beacon editor Matt Continetti, Media Research Center founder Brent Bozell, and Town Hall editor and Fox contributor Guy Benson. Zuckerberg has also reportedly met with Senator Lindsey Graham. So now, okay, meeting with conservatives to hear them out, I actually don't think that that's a bad thing. Okay, look, you want to meet with conservatives, you want to hear their perspective. All right, that's fine. But where are the progressives? Is Facebook meeting with progressives at all? No, of course not. Has Zuckerberg even ever met a progressive? Probably not. Because like anyone in his economic class, he despises progressives. They really do. Now, conversation at the dinners, which have reportedly run 2.5 to 3 hours long, have centered on free expression, unfair treatment of conservatives, of course, the appeals process for real or perceived unfair treatment, of course, fact-checking, partnerships, and privacy. All right, so what's come from that? Anything? Well, it turns out that Facebook, now in an effort to appease the right wing, uses the Daily Caller as a fact checker. Really? Now, Daily Caller, look, here's the thing about Daily Caller, right? They make things up. It's not that they have a conservative perspective. Again, I can understand that, right? And as long as you stick to the facts, and even if you have a conservative perspective on things like, hey, I think we should lower taxes because of this and this and this, whatever, right? But no, Daily Caller makes things up, actually makes up stories. They're not a conservative-leaning news agency that sticks to facts. No, they're a right-wing blog that essentially makes things up. Come on, man, really? And they are considered a fact checker on Facebook. That's ridiculous. Now, where are the progressive fact checkers then, right? Now, I bet Zuckerberg believes that the New York Times is progressive. Of course they're not. No, they all despise progressives. Now, let me give you an example, right, of how Facebook is now treating progressives. I have a Facebook page where I post all my videos, facebook.com/TYDNation, right? I've had features restricted. I've had my reach reduced because they found stories where they said it was clickbait. Now, these are true stories, right? And yeah, the title is supposed to be a little bit provocative to get people to entice people to click on it, right? But there was nothing misleading in those stories. One was about how this GOP activist and Trump supporter got in trouble for Social Security fraud. Literally in the clip were cited court documents that show that she is in trouble for Social Security fraud. You guys remember that story. And another one was about the hospital industry. And this is another, expose report with actual documentation to back it up, that shows that the hospital industry has been leading the charge on trying to fight against a single-payer Medicare for all system, coming up with talking points and doing financing for these large, large think tanks and groups and organizations that are funding this effort to stop us from getting a single payer. That's considered clickbait. Now, you got to be kidding me. But no, that's Facebook. I'm pretty sure that any fact checker on Facebook had to have known, that there are actual like documents, right, behind both of those stories, the actual information. No, of course they know, but they're not interested in the truth because they serve the moneyed interest in the establishment. So, anyway, it's complete and utter BS. So now, Jen Jacobs, senior White House reporter for Politico, described this scoop, by the way, by her colleagues as a rare example of direct political involvement from one of the most powerful tech executives. And you might think, okay, so what? Well, look, having Facebook literally direct a campaign to hire people is kind of an example of how much power these corporations have. Remember Buttigieg? What's funny about Buttigieg, right, is that he said that he was inspired by Bernie Sanders. Wrote an essay about him, looked up to him, but unfortunately, now that Warren has the center-left lane, and Bernie Sanders, of course, is the biggest progressive, the most progressive in the race, I'm guessing that Buttigieg, well, since he wasn't really, getting a lot of traction, gets these hires from Facebook, and this is my assumption, of course, gets these hires from Facebook, large corporation. And they're like, you know what you need to do, Pete? You need to go further to the right. And of course, what did he do? In the debate, you saw him punch from the right on Medicare for all and other progressive issues. And now, look at what happened. The establishment press is drooling over, Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg! Oh, stellar performance in the debate. Forget Elizabeth Warren. Forget Bernie Sanders. They'll never win. Pete Buttigieg, rising star. He doesn't want you to have health care. We love it. We love Pete Buttigieg. No, this is what money, this is what corruption does to a candidate. Remember, Buttigieg is awash in corporate money. In fact, as of mid-2019, he was second only to Donald Trump in overall campaign cash from donors in the health insurance sector. Among Democratic candidates, he was second to former Vice President Joe Biden in terms of pharmaceutical and health insurance donations, which is why, of course, he has backtracked and no longer supports single-payer Medicare for all. Now, these donors, by the way, include pharmaceutical industry leaders such as the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer at Pfizer, President of Astex Pharmaceuticals, state lobbyists for Biogen, and these are just individual donations, Vice President of Public Policy at Novartis, and a Deputy Vice Director at the nation's largest pharmaceutical trade association, Pharma, as well as attorneys from AbbVie, Johnson & Johnson, and Merck. He is awash in corporate money from health insurance. And so, of course, he will argue that we need more private health insurance. Because, of course. Not only that, but he uses fossil fuel talking points when talking about climate change, taking in big money from finance and tech. And now, of course, you see he's being told literally who to hire from Facebook. Buttigieg is everything we hate about the Democratic establishment wrapped up in an attractive LGBT bow. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.